Hey there, I'm Nick Gerard, and this is the best introduction we're going to get during this online course. Yay! I wish you could come in to the lab. We have a DBH 226, but instead I'll do this remotely. So here we go. In this class, we're going to use a few programs. We're going to use Adobe Premiere to edit our footage. We're going to use Insta360 Studio, I think 2020, and we're also going to use Unity. Unity is this great program that you can make software for anything on it, really. You can make it for a phone, a game console, virtual reality headsets, PCs, Macs. Like, there are a lot of tools, but it is a little complicated. So watch, their tutorials, figure out problems, before we come to the assignments. Another important factor, another important program is going to be just your operating system. Make sure that thing works, because we have to do things from home now. And figure out if your virus scanner is taking up too much of your bandwidth when it comes to your CPU power. Find the most powerful computer in the house, and that's the one you do this course with, because you don't want to be on like the weakest netbook or MacBook, and have a hard time in this course. You want the most powerful computer in your house, because this is advanced technology, and we're going to need a lot of processing power to get through it. I've seen sometimes after you get Insta360 footage on advanced computers, it can take maybe like 2 hours to get the footage rendered. But if you're on a slower computer, that could take a day, and you might crash somewhere in there. So it's good to get the advanced computer, and we'll figure things out with you on the way. If something happens, maybe we'll push it, but we can detect when something's up. So just be honest with us. Trust system. We're going to do this together, and I want to teach you so that you have this great tool for your future career. I'm going to show you one of the coolest things we have in this class, is the Insta360 1X camera. So rule number one with this camera is keep this protective cover on, or keep the lenses from getting scratched. It is amazing. It is a 360 camera. You can see probably a lot of focus there, but it is amazing because it has such a short distance between both lenses that the stitch is really hard to see. So when you're looking around, you don't see, oh, there's this weird line that's doing a 180, right? So it's really great for making videos and exporting them quickly. So this will be a great journalistic tool for you, and I think it's future iterations of this camera will be very important in VR journalism or 360 journalism. So yeah, what I want to show you today has to do with this camera and how to operate it. It's pretty easy to use. It's a lot like a GoPro. So I'm going to show you a little bit closer. Alright, so this is the Insta360 1X. This bottom button is power, and this top button is the action button. There's a little screw input in the bottom. There's the charging port, and you can also get data off this when it's on. With a micro SD card that's inside here, you might have to use a penny or a dime to take it out. It's pretty hard to get to. There's also the battery hatch, very important if you have the charger or you need to swap batteries. Or if the camera crashes, which sometimes can happen, you can just pull that out, wait 10 seconds, and put it back in. Okay, so it's a 360 camera, meaning it has two fisheye lenses that capture the full image. They overlap each other, kind of like, not like that, more like that. It actually records more than it needs to, so that it can stitch together. So all that's being recorded. And all that's being recorded. Okay, so let's do interface basics. So this is the power button. I just held that for 2 seconds and it's on. It's defaulting to camera, so we're going to press the power again quickly, and it goes to video mode. This is 5.7K, very high resolution, like a 4K TV. This is even higher. It says we have 56 minutes of film time left and a full battery. It also says we have Wi-Fi here. And this is a special setting I like, logarithmic. Log 30. It just means it gets more color information. So, basics, power, action button. So you can press the power button to cycle through modes, right? So it's camera, video, and gear. You go to gear, which is settings. You press action button, top one, and you can change a bunch of different settings. It's set up pretty good right now. For you guys, you'll want 5.7, 30 frames per second. ISO, that's how bright it is. Shutter is also how bright it is. For log, I'll say you want log off. Just to give, this is like color information. We'll go over that later. So, in settings, maybe we'll start here. In settings, you just push the action button and it goes to next. You can change things here. You can probably keep it at 5.730. Wi-Fi is important because it means you can connect with the app. The app is useful because it lets you view, live view of what the camera can see. And this is useful if you're tucked around the corner trying to hide from being on camera. Remember, it records all around you, all around the camera, rather. So to log into the Wi-Fi, you'll need to have Wi-Fi on. You'll find the Wi-Fi password, and you'll use the Insta360, that's Insta360 1X app on your app store. Download that. Pause now. And then you'll use a password unique to the camera. That's the Wi-Fi password. For this actually has its own Wi-Fi network, right? So you connect by putting in this Wi-Fi password, and boom, you're in. And then you can see stuff. You can see what's happening on the camera. You can change the exposure value. And this is good for difficult lighting situations or if it's dark. But again, I'd always recommend bright settings for this. It's great at really not high resolution. It's great at really bright scenes, but not so good with dark. All right, so I think that's it for the interface. So we can just hold the power button to power down. So now that we've gone over the interface and how to make this thing work, let's just talk a little bit about the camera. So yeah, green light means it's on. If you want to interact with it when you're recording, it'll make a little beep. And when it's blinking, it's recording. And this is important because sometimes something might go wrong with it and it might stop blinking. And that's when you can say, hey, person I'm recording, stop, sorry, it just stopped working. It doesn't happen often, but maybe low power. Yeah. So audio for this is pretty good. I'll do a little audio tutorial. You can put your phone at the base of it to record audio, just in case there's a lot of wind in the scene. Yeah, but some more shooting basics. When you're shooting with this, you kind of want it always to be still. Because what we're trying to do is shoot immersive virtual reality experiences. You've probably tried virtual reality and got dizzy. And that's because we had low frame rates and a lot of motion starting out. Then they started using teleporting. Well, maybe we're getting into the weeds a little too much there. Virtual reality is something that can make people dizzy. So what we want to do is keep this still. So on a tripod, you know, moving away from it and having the person whose story that they're telling, you know, your subject, you want them to speak to the camera as if it's a person. Because it is going to be a set of human eyes, maybe a few thousand human eyes. Alright. So, Now that we've gone over the interface, let's go into shooting basics. So you press that to shoot and it'll make a little beep sound. You'll see seconds counting up, and you'll also see this blinking. If it stops blinking, something's gone wrong, start over again. You'll press it again to stop. Pretty simple. The more complex things are unique to virtual reality. When we say virtual worlds, we mean it. We want to start immersive training in journalism. There's a lot of people using this camera, swinging it around, making interesting camera angles, and I'll teach you how to do that for mobile phone viewing and like viewing on your computer where it doesn't make you dizzy. But in VR, that stuff makes you dizzy. You'll try to compensate, maybe lean the other way, and you might fall over. You don't want people to fall over and distract them, right? So what you do want is to keep this still on a tripod for when you're doing your VR shots. And what that means is keeping it at eye level or in a space where someone would feel like they're at least sitting. You can put it on, if your tripod's too short, maybe you can put it on a table or a chair or something. It's been difficult to try to make hardware work during all of this COVID stuff, delivering everything. So sorry if everything's not perfect, but I think for you, the sitting option will always work. So people will always feel like, yeah, I'm sitting in this chair and this is happening around me. Another option is eye level. So having the camera at eye level with your subject. So maybe your subject's sitting and they're talking directly into the camera and speaking to it like it's a person. That's what you want. We want to create empathy with this medium. It's good for features. News can be told with a few, simple pieces of information. The stock market went down by this, blah. News is done. There are more complex news stories, but features are where 360 video really shines. So I think that's going to be an interesting place to expand. But I'm kind of going to a different topic here. More shooting basics. Alright, so more shooting basics. Shooting with this camera. You kind of want to stay at a decent distance away. You don't want to get, your subject close to the stitch or where the camera goes to the other camera. You kind of want them on one side or the other of the camera. You also, you want most of your action to be that way, like facing a certain way. You also want them to stay a certain distance, so like about 2 feet, maybe like kind of like arm distance. It'll keep them from getting too loud on the microphone too, which I think is right up here. And then you also have a few more particularities, like there's the distance. You don't want it to be too dark, so you always try to shoot at a bright time, sometime between maybe 9 and 4. And that's not starting then, that's starting at noon. You want to really get a lot of sunlight. If it's sunset and you're doing a shot, it might work, but where this camera shines is in being able to stabilize. So I'm trying to train you how to use this camera. Maybe this isn't so particular to virtual reality, because we're not going to be moving this too much, but if you want a VR shot, you could probably get away with moving forward, right? You could get away with moving up really slowly, as long as you're doing it in a consistent manner. You probably won't make your viewer dizzy, but the best practice is to keep it still on the ground. And that can limit you in some ways, and that's why some people like to shoot for 2D with this as well. Kind of do 2 projects. One that's VR, where they're in headsets, and another where you're going really quick on the ground, or moving quickly for a cool post on social media. But it won't be as impactful, I think, as this. So yeah. And you can rely on it for 30 minutes of video per charge. So keep this thing charged up well. and you'll have luck with it. One thing that you have to do is put this in, and a useful tool within this Wi-Fi menu will be shooting it from afar, so you can like start your shoot from somewhere distant. We can edit stuff later though, so just press the camera and go, that's fine. But if you have a difficult lighting situation, what you want to do is go into this, go in app, and maybe turn the exposure up or down. And I'll show you that on the screen. There's a little kind of like a camera. It's +1, -1. I'm really glad I get to share this camera with you and what I've learned about it. I've made some great films that I'll show you throughout this class. And yeah, Virtual Worlds is going to be a great course, so excited to work with you.